Passiamo ora a un intervento sugli spazi abitativi e richiamo al palco la signora architetto Jasmien Herssens. Grazie.
Good morning, everybody. As Pete already introduced me, I've been working in academia for 20 years, but last year I started my own startup, 4Mind, and with 4Mind we try to impact minds today to change the world tomorrow. Specifically, we advise and we support institutes, organizations, people to apply Design for All in a more practical way. Today I'm presenting to you, I've been asked to present to you a project I've been doing as a professor at Hasselt University for adaptable housing. And the reason why is probably because of the Article 19 that is in the UN CRPD, and the UN CRPD was actually an added new convention on the human rights because people noticed, or policy makers noticed, that the application of inclusion was not applied with the very general human rights. So they added the UN CRPD, in which Article 19 refers to independent living. And independent living actually stresses the choices that you can make as an individual equal to others. That's the most important thing. And actually, the essence of this is to leave no one behind. Never, never, ever leave no one behind. And probably I shouldn't tell you because otherwise you shouldn't be here, because I assume that many of you already have good intentions by being here, but that is the background information. So today I would like to go in detail on what is Design for All in housing, why we do use Design for All in housing, and then I will show you quickly a case study, Mutatie Plus. So what is Design for All in housing? It's already been mentioned. We've been trained as designers too often in a very visual way, referring to the Vitruvian man with ideal standard ergonomics, which don't exist in reality. Moreover, in the 90s and also now even, many schools train architects and designers in a visual way towards minimalistic architecture, and it's very beautiful. But what is the living space in real? If you see the living room on the right side, in my house it's often this way. And it's very human, so you should always think on how it's been used, your living space, and then you can design it. So designing the future of living or independent living is a multi-layered process that can be supported by Design for All. Design for All is actually a process that helps you to be more attentive and aware towards inclusion in general. Because, look at your right, look at the left side, we are all diverse. It's been mentioned here several times. We are all diverse, we have diverse experiences with diverse choices and needs, and we have also diverse perceptual systems. We cannot forget all the users, also these ones. They are also important to take in mind when we are designing. And to give you a brief example of the importance of knowing everything about perceptual systems and not only focusing on the visual perception, I give you an example of this man. I interviewed him about 10 years ago. I will call him Luigi because we were in Italy. So Luigi, he lives alone in a village and he's completely blind, but he can survive through different aspects and also things you cannot see. And what I will show you here is his walk, his daily walk to his mailbox, not his virtual one, but the physical one. So he goes out every morning from his house, walking towards the garage. There you can see that his elbow is ticking next to the wall, so he feels the corner of the wall of the opening for the garage. Then he moves to the left, he takes the hedge as a guiding line, and he walks towards the street along the hedge, arriving at the street with a different feeling of texture, moving to the left, walking towards his mailbox, and feeling the brick wall of the mailbox, finding his mailbox, and he was very proud. For him, this is very essential. This is crucial in his daily life to be able to get his own mail out of the mailbox. But how he does it, how he walks towards the mailbox, is in a different way as people with vision would do. If you have vision or vision enough, your vision will overrule your tactile or your haptic system. And that is something we need to take in mind when we design. So it's only one example of the senses that I will give you to remind you of the different ways of perception in the world. And in my PhD, I actually found different planes that you can divide in designing: movement plates, guide plates, and rest plates. When designers think about blind people, they might think that they have to design their homes by thinking of a white cane or using a white cane. I can tell you that I have not met a blind person yet who uses a blind cane inside the house unless there are crisis situations, but they just be themselves in their house and they use furniture and other supportive systems to walk through the house. So this is not reality, because we don't see things as they are, we see things as we are. On the right, you see pictures taken by children who are completely blind, and they asked me to use my photo camera. And they take pictures in a different way as we do. When we take a picture of these beautiful mountains behind the screens of Lugano, we go from a distance and we make sure that the mountain is fully seen. But a blind child who wants to take a picture of that mountain will go to that mountain and will step on the mountain and will put the camera in the direction of the slope of the mountain. You see on the picture down on the right a picture of a playground, and on that playground there's a slope, and that girl wanted to take a picture of that slope. The way how she used the camera showed me how people who are blind perceive the world in a haptic way. This to show you the diversity of perceptual systems of people. And I only took one little piece of the haptic system, but you also have the olfactory system, the gustatory system. That's another lecture. But you also have to take in mind the diversity of homes. Think of birds. They also need different kind of holes to live in their homes. We are the same. We need diversity in our homes, but also diversity in our environments that we have to align with. So why is design for all important in housing if it's so specific for one person or one family? It's because it needs to be available in the housing. Also, if you want to rent a house, it needs to be accessible and affordable. Available. This is a house in Great Britain, and it's a house in a row, and that a person who's living there has got an accident and needs to make sure that she or he can enter the house, and they decide to install a slope. And they did it this way. So this is a way how you can install a slope, and this is reality, people. So it's actually, it shows us that there is still a lack of knowledge in the world on how we can do this, how we can avoid stigma and introduce elegance, and that is where design comes in. We as designers, we can make a difference and avoid stigma and create elegance and make beautiful solutions. Because, to be honest, I think this is quite a very one-person-minded solution, not taking in mind the whole community, because if you're the neighbor of this person, you watch this slope every day, and it is perhaps not so nice to look at either. In the houses, we still build a lot of houses with stairs, but what if something happens is the ground floor still accessible for everyone? And can you live downstairs, or is that a problem? Is the house flexible enough? In crisis situation like we have now, in war or in climate change, we do need to think about how we can create houses for everyone. I may not imagine what is happening at this point in some places in the world where people who are not that mobile or are not that independent are left alone. And also accessibility. This is a picture showing a room in a care home, and the bed actually cannot go out through the door nor through the window. So in case of emergency, like with fire emergency, you cannot help people leave the room. So this is problematic as well. And it has been mentioned before, the question that has been asked a lot is, well, is it affordable? Well, if we don't think about it in advance, we will give this cost as a burden to the people who need it. And mostly, these people already are in need of money because they cannot go to work or they rely on other fundings. So we are responsible as a society to make it affordable. And yes, we can. We can make it if we think about it in advance, because an inclusive design for all process, inclusive design process, design for all process, universal design process, it's all the same for me. It's a never-ending iterative process, and it never stops. And we should rethink if it's only the time that we are building that is actually important, or if we should take in mind also the time afterwards. What after 10 years? What will this building look like after 10 years? Can we still value it or evaluate it? And I think there lies some options for policymakers to value this. If buildings are still sustainable after 10 to 20 years, yeah, then you can have perhaps a return on investments from the state. It's an idea. But we have to think like that. And another thing is that it's often underestimated that design for all is very innovative. This shows a man who's doing the dishes in an, let's say, ordinary kitchen, not designed for all, and it gives some challenges. He cannot cope with everything that easily, but you can design this kitchen in the same way for the same price or even lower. Like on the picture on the right, you see a kitchen that goes up and down, and cupboards that go up and down. So, and there's no stigma. It's very elegant. This Pete already showed, so I will skip this, but it's very important. Good design enables. So the case study I want to share with you is Mutatie Plus. It is a project that we submitted a funding application for in 2013 with 20 partners in Belgium, in the region of Limburg, where we had the mines, the coal mines, but they were closed, and also the Ford fabric was closed. So there was a lot of poverty, and the government gave extra money to re-establish the whole environment. So we had the idea to work together with the social housing company to renovate houses, both in terms of energy efficiency, but also for social innovation. So we had two main tracks. And we also had 3 living labs that we created. I will show you the video if I have time, so I will skip it. But so the project actually was to renovate social housing, because the social housing company dealt with a lot of problems of people who were in need of a social house and often struggled with disabilities or aging problems, and they couldn't use the houses that were free. So they said we are in need of more flexible, adaptable houses. And these building labs, or these living labs, started actually for us in the social track with analyzing what already existed and how people were living at that point. So this house was the first house, shows on the left the living room, and it was from a Syrian family who at that point lived there. And we asked them to do some photo ethnography. So we gave them a photo camera for 30 days, and we said, take pictures of what you like and you dislike in your house. And to give you one example, the picture of the stairs with the shoes upon was taken because many people fell on the stairs because of the shoes. But the shoes, of course, are dangerous on stairs, but they were put there because people enter the house, they put off their shoes, and they didn't have enough place to store the shoes. So there was a lack of storing place in that house. We actually gathered all the information from the photoethnographic study, but we also did inquiries in the whole neighborhood about the housing and also about what people thought about inclusive design and how they felt. And we collected with the team everything to make a kind of a system. And what came out of the inquiry in the neighborhood is that people do want inclusive design, because they do want usability, flexibility, and comfort. And that was something that came back all the time. And these are actually the aspects that Design for All stands for or creates. So this was for us an extra motivation to go ahead. But the most challenging aspect in the project was not only the people we were building for, but also the people we were building with. Because as I told you, we were with 20 partners and not everyone knew what Design for All stood for. So what we actually did after half a year, we realized that not everyone in the team realized what Design for All was all about. And we gave them a workshop and blinded them, put them in wheelchairs, and let them experience the whole house themselves. And it was actually a tipping point because it changed the whole idea of the renovation. So at that point, they decided, okay, because social innovation was always considered as less important as the energy efficiency, because energy efficiency, you got funding for it, and it was important for Europe, and social innovation, okay, we take it, and we'll see. But actually, when they experienced themselves in the house how difficult it was to manage and even to organize your house, and also related to the results that came out of what the neighborhood told us, they changed, they completely changed. And they decided that the first house, okay, it would focus on energy efficiency, but we would do our very best to already implement parts of independent living and lifelong living. And then the second pilot would be a focus on lifelong living. So these are pictures of the first pilot after renovation. So you saw the pictures of the Serbian family before. This is the house afterwards. So on the right you see the living room, and you also see the front facade and the back facade. And what also was a challenge in this whole project, we renovated in 2 weeks. So it sounds amazing, but it worked, and we worked according to a lean timing. And so many things were done before by the industry, so the whole facade, both in front and back, were built somewhere else in the industry, in the Ford fabrics actually. And there they built the whole facade according to energy efficiency. The whole trajectory of designing was done before. And actually the 2 weeks we had was only renovating with the whole team to get this house done. And we succeeded. You can see we also put sun panels. But what was interesting, for example, to give you one example that came out of the social innovation track, was that afterwards we also invited neighbors again to this house, and they knew the house from before. And they were actually so charmed by the whole way how the house was designed because of the flexibility. And one person who was a Muslim, he said, finally in this house I can bring in my family for parties, because before that you had like a kitchen that was divided from the living room, and it was really difficult to organize it. But this flexibility in this house made it possible to choose where you could put your living room or eating room. So it brought a lot of possibilities, and it was not even that much. Oh, I'm going over time. So this was the team was not finished yet. So even after the house was built, we actually brought all the partners. This is the guy of the social housing company. We brought them all again into the house to check again what they experienced, to bring their experience to the next pilot. So finally we made 3. This is only the first one. And so we brought them in, we let them experience again how it went. And I'm already running towards 20 minutes, but there are 2 videos on YouTube on Mutatie Plus, which you can check, and then you see the pilots shown. This is the pilot, the second one, where we were focusing on independent living. And, oh, it's already starting. No, that's not the house. But where we, so this is the second house where we actually have built an added house next to it. Yeah. So I cannot go further. I'm not sure why, but you can go to the next slide. So this, well, what also came out was that we created a comfort tool to check actually the comfort in the houses. And also, there was also a partner working on interface system, digital systems to implement in the house so that people could easily interact with digital aspects. Thank you very much.